Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of BSTV. Usually do reality TV shows, but I love a good documentary too, and wanted to talk about the Robbie Williams documentary. Oh yeah, so I'll just say that as a Canadian, I knew about Robbie Williams. I knew that he was a popular, like one of the coolest type guys, like a Beckham of music in England. Like he dated all the Sposh girls. I think all but one he dated. In this thing that features Jerry a lot, Ginger Spice, and then Emma was in it with them on a vacation. But anyways, I didn't know his history. I knew he was in Take That. I didn't know Take That was that big. I thought Take That was just like a run of the mill, like whatever the band was that Nick Lachey was in, and one of those like one hit wonder boy bands. But actually, they compare them to New Kids on the Block, North America's top boy band, and they had like 7 number ones, and they were really really big in the early 90s. I thought they were late 90s too. Anyways, he was the young guy in it, so I guess, and he kind of, his career path kind of follows like the Wahlberg brothers, in terms of he gets let go from the band because of too much partying. Mark Wahlberg actually was supposed to be in New Kids, but was too big of a partier and they didn't put him in it. But then he recovers nicely with a solo career. But the documentary goes dark, and it talks about like where it says here in the image that I'm showing, where it says tell all documentary addiction. Yeah, Robbie Williams, he just has all the signs of like someone who's been addicted to drugs his entire life. Get ready for this. Like, I can't not talk about or think about with a reference in my head. The whole documentary is just Robbie in black underwear, lying in bed, like shades drawn because he can't face daylight. He seems like a recovering addict, like a guy with low self-esteem type stuff, or just an angry guy. But he's in his blue black underwear all the time. And it's really cool how basically someone's just showing him clips of him at younger years, and he will talk about them. But many times it's like he's like, "Oh man, I'm not looking forward to watching this one because this one's gonna be me struggling with depression, trying to go on stage." Anyways, one thing that I found really fascinating in the thing was there's a scene where he's talking, and it says Robbie Williams at 32. And this is basically what Robbie Williams looked like at 32. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he looks like 45. So I had to look up, like, how old is Robbie Williams today? And that's him today, 49. And life of a rock star. Like, looks much older. Not saying any of this to take shots at him, just fascinated at how British people too, I find, tend to age more. Maybe just all the drinking they do over there. Anyways, really in-depth documentary, really nice. He talks about really difficult situations. One where his first album was kind of bombing, and then for somehow he had this big song called Angels, and it was voted like #1 song of the century in the UK for the 1900 century, not this century that's going on now, because it came out in 97, 98. And anyways, it shows him, and he's like, I was going on stage here, and it was like one of those big like UK concerts with 100,000 people, outdoor venue, and he's like, I was terrified, and I just played this song first, and the crowd started to sing it, and they just like brought me up, and if that didn't happen, my career may have been over, because his self-esteem was just shot. He was struggling with sobriety, and the crowd saved him that day, and he was like, wow, I'm somebody, they like me. But that's another thing too. The whole documentary is him trying to get sober, and when he gets sober, then he can't perform because he doesn't have that confidence. And he talks about performing sober, and he's like, I'm not Robbie, I'm Rob. Like, I'm a different guy. I can't perform. And I'm built to entertain, and it's hard. And then there's this right here. This is his main co-writer. So he meets this guy after leaving Take That. And when he leaves Take That, it's funny because it's like he's just like, you think he's just this like 16-year-old untalented guy who got lucky, was the young guy in Take That, and he was gonna go nowhere, and then he gets lucky and meets this guy who starts writing songs with him, but then he lets him go later in his career. He just said that he just felt their paths were, done, and like he wasn't into that type of music that this guy was writing any longer. But probably a mistake, or his career was over anyways, and he didn't really have anything substantially released after that point. But anyways, small part of the documentary was the ending, where he's kind of out of music now and he just entertains a little bit when asked. He has a reunion with Take That, which seems to reignite music in him. It has a point where his manager is telling him, if you go on tour with Take That, you're going to make like this much money. If you go on tour as Robbie Williams, like, you don't got to share the money, you're going to make like that much. And he's just like, I need it. Like, I gotta kind of like repair, because they had an ugly breakup, and he had to like repair that image 20 years later, where he talks about like, and it shows him on stage making fun of the other Take That guys, and he's like, yeah, and he's very introspective and understanding where he's at now today. He really understands where he wasn't emotionally or intellectually in his earlier years, where he's looking back on film and being like, yeah, I just didn't have the skills to handle what I was going through, so I lashed out at those guys on stage. And same with lots of the depression stuff, where he's just like, I'm a 16-year-old. I'm about to go on stage, and all of a sudden, in my mind, 16-year-old Robbie is here, and you're a loser, and you're a nobody, and you're a wanker. And he battles that every time he goes on stage. But gotta say, I've become a big Robbie Williams fan after watching the documentary. I think it's really opened me up to who he was. I highly recommend this, and looking forward to reviewing more documentaries like this that I've seen on Netflix or other streaming services. Let me know what you guys thought of the documentary. Were you a Robbie Williams fan? Did you know who he was before? And like, subscribe, leave a comment.